Hello everybody, my name is Nicola and welcome back to my channel. This is the Frugal Cottage, where we talk all things we need to help you on your financial journey. Today's video is a bit different. It's a bit of a life update, I guess, and the first time I've sat down in front of a camera for a while, so don't forget to like and subscribe and let's get started. So the longer I don't do face-to-face videos like this, the more difficult it becomes, and I guess half of that is just being out of practice, but half of that is conscious of where I fit in on here and how I see my own channel versus other people's. And it's been a bit of a journey recently, and so this video is about a bit of an update in terms of how things are going and a bit of a conscious effort to do things just because I like them. So the title of this video is Slowing Down and Showing Up, and I'm going to talk about two various parts of that. So slowing down is something that I am actively working on trying to do at the moment. My life at the moment feels very much like I go to work and come home, I'm a mum, I then go to bed and rinse and repeat, and there is not a lot else in the mix at the moment because life is so busy. And I get that I'm in the stage of life where life is busy, working full time, then having two children, they need taking various places quite often, and it just feels like at the moment everything is so rushed and the days all merge into one, and before I know it another week is over, and it feels a bit like a hamster wheel. And at some point I need to figure out slightly more of a better balance in that respect, because otherwise 10 years are going to go by and I'm going to be in the same cycle, I guess slightly different cycle, but it's the cycle nonetheless, and it just feels like there has got to be more to life than this. There's got to be more to life than working, and kind of there's no time for any kind of pockets of joy at the moment, it feels like. And even on the weekends where there's downtime and stuff like that, it still feels quite rushed somehow. And so kind of slowing down and being more mindful of that and taking the time to figure out just what I want, I guess, the next 10 years. So 10 years in my mind is quite a, I don't know, it's quite a significant milestone in terms of ages of people and where I want to be in 10 years time and what I want my life to look like in 10 years time. And slowing down is actually proving more tricky than I thought it was going to, and so I am conscious of, so for example, you might not know this about me, but I play the piano. I have played the piano for a ridiculously long time now. I started when I was very young, and I really enjoy playing the piano. I would say that I'm quite good at playing the piano, always have been, really enjoy it, and used to be one of the things that I did to kind of, I guess, just have that moment to myself, to breathe, to kind of get lost in that. I can quite happily sit and just make up my own stuff, and I can't remember the last time I did that, for example, because even when I do get a bit of time, there's always something else that I need to be doing. There's always housework or things, or I need to do this, or we need to be going somewhere else, so there's always something else I should be doing. And so I can't remember, and I'm using the piano as an example because we have a piano, it's in the living room, and music is a massive part of my life, and there are certain aspects when I think, when did that stop? When did all of that, the things that make life more enjoyable, when did they stop? And when did it become the norm to kind of be rushing from A to B and doing this and doing that and having a million and one things on? And is that part of just being an adult? And maybe it is, and maybe I'm naive in thinking that I can make this any better, but at the moment there's just, by the time I get to the point where kind of the boys are in bed and I've just got a moment for myself, I either end up watching something on the TV that I'm not really paying attention to because I'm that tired, or I just go straight to bed because I need to go to bed because I need to be ready for the next day, and the cycle repeats again and I need to be ready for what comes. There is no moment in that where I can just sit and breathe. And I kind of think, like, most people I talk to in real life, their lives are busy as well, and I have friends in different stages of that, I guess, and different home circumstances, different jobs, whatever else. Everybody just seems to be really busy, and I don't quite know when that became the norm, and the more you get in that cycle, or I'm finding the more that I get in that cycle of not doing anything for me, the worse it becomes and the worse everything else feels. And so slowing down, I'm having to make a conscious effort about that. And it is an effort because sometimes the last thing I want to do is then, I'm not great at sitting. So the last thing I then want to do is just sit, because there's always something else I should be doing. There's always something else that should be done, or I could be doing, or I could do this, or I should be doing that, or maybe I should try this. And I feel like I've lost the sense of it's okay just to sit. Because even when I'm sitting watching the TV, my mind is not really there. I'm thinking of a million one other things, and thinking about things like the next day and what's going on the next day and what do I need to remember and all that kind of stuff, and it begins to take its toll. And it is doing, it is very much. And I found a couple of new channels recently to me. One of them is Rewilding Jude. I'll leave a link below to his channel. And I watch those and I kind of think, I'm not saying it's an easy life before I say this, but that's the kind of life I want. And then what kind of steps do I need to take to get there? And of course there's responsibilities and bills, and I'm a parent, and people are relying on me to be that consistent, stable person, and that's fine. But at what point do I say, actually, I want this to be different for me? And is that okay to want it to be different for me? I don't even know, because where I am now is what I wanted before, and now we've got here and everything is settled and kind of stuff. Now I'm like, actually, there has to be more than this. The life can't just be this. And so the slowing down bit, even things like taking the time to kind of have a cup of tea, light a candle. So I used to have candles all the time, and again, this sounds really silly, but it kind of starting to build a picture. I love having a candle burning, and I recently treated myself to one from Lidl, and I don't think it's particularly expensive. I haven't had that candle going. It's just sat on the side, and it's really little things like, why haven't I? And I don't know the answer to that, other than I probably should have spent the money on something else. And yet it wasn't that much money, and I used to really like, I tell you the ones I used to like, I can't remember the brand name, but it's like a wood wick, and you light it and it sounds like it sounds like a fire. It's got that kind of noise. I can't justify the expense of those anymore, but I used to love those. And it's just little things where I'm missing I feel like life is passing me by now, and I'm just waiting for the next day, or the day to end and the next day to begin. So slowing down is an active part of what I'm trying to do at the moment. And then the second one is showing up, because I love doing all this stuff on YouTube, but it's easy to film where I just show my hands, because then I don't need to worry about what this looks like. And at the moment, I'm struggling with I don't look like your typical YouTuber. I don't, there's for most part, again, not all obviously, but for the most part, YouTubers are kind of, they look a certain way. I don't want to kind of go into the nuances of that, because obviously people view people in different ways. I feel like I am kind of I don't really know where I fit in anymore, and that includes on here. And so when I sit down and film a YouTube video with my face in it, I don't know, people can be really unkind, and anything that you post on here, if you're going to leave an unkind message, is not something that I've not said to myself. So you don't need to write it, because I already know. But showing up on here, and in fact in every part of my life, showing up is something that it is easier to shut the door and stay inside and stuff, but actually that's also not helping me at all. So showing up online, in life in general, reaching out where necessary, I'm also trying to do that more, because it gives me some sense of purpose first of all, but also it gives me some sense of, no matter how imperfect this is, hopefully it helps somebody somewhere, because that was the point of starting all of this in the first place, that I'm helping someone with something somewhere. And I hope that continues to be the case. And like I say, there's some certain channels recently that I watch, and I'm purely watching them just to watch them in their everyday life, and reminding myself that it doesn't have to be this amazing kind of or singing or dancing stuff, sometimes the day-to-day parts, when it's calm, when it's quiet, when the storm has settled, that's alright too, and I need to learn to know that that's okay, because it still sometimes doesn't feel like it. And so I'm not entirely sure what the point of this video is, other than just to explain why I don't show my face as much. It's not because I don't want to, it's because I'm very conscious of I just don't look. I don't feel like I look the right part. I don't even know if I ever did, to be fair, but I definitely don't know. And kind of saying that slowing down and showing up is something I'm actively working on, but it's not an easy journey, and sometimes it doesn't feel worth it. And so I guess that's the point of the video, is to tell myself that it is worth it, and there are people, hopefully people, that are watching this and finding it useful and finding it helpful, and knowing that there are other people whose lives don't look like lives look on social media. I have to remind myself that when I'm watching too much of TikTok, that isn't normal life, or it's not for most people. And I don't know if my For You page is very different, but sometimes I have to turn it off and go, it's okay that your life doesn't look like that, that isn't real. Because it makes me feel like I'm not doing enough and I haven't got enough and my life isn't enough, and that isn't real on there. And I have to, social media for me is a really big trigger for lots of things, and I need to be mindful of that. And so showing up in certain ways and not others is the plan there. But I guess that explains a bit of where I've been, a bit of why the videos for quite a while now have just been me videoing on my desk, so you can see my hands on buying stuff, my budget with me, sinking funds, all of that, the dividend income where it's on my computer screen, and why it isn't actually my face. Because I have had messages going, are you going to do videos where you talk? And I am, I promise. There's a very big, and it's all on me. I need to figure that out, because I've got such a wonderful community here and such a wonderful supportive group of people. I have people who send me things off my Amazon wish list just randomly because they can. I have people who send me messages, of wonderful messages. I've got a lady who sends me like shorts on Instagram quite often that are just lovely, really quick but really positive messages that sometimes is what you need in the morning. I have such a wonderful community here, and I don't want to lose that because I'm stuck. That's what it feels like. So yeah, so I don't really know what the point of this video is, other than to kind of explain where I've been and how I'm feeling. But yeah, so if you've got any comments or advice or anything else, please leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I do reply, or try to reply, to every single message, and also sometimes conversations get going in the comments, which is lovely to see as well. But yeah, I will be back. I need to make a promise to myself that once I sit down and do this, it isn't quite as bad as I feel it is. But the thought is always worse than the actual doing. So yeah, I hope you're having a lovely Sunday. And as always, thank you for watching, for liking. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because it really helps the channel out. And I'll see you with another video very soon.